YouTube. So, hair change because I got bored again. What are you gonna do? It's kind of purpley now, a little bit. But coffee and cauldrons time. So, I figured we'd talk about Hades a little bit. Some of the things that came around with him, and then some other things that came up. One of those things was that I visited him quite a bit during my chaos time before my move, all of that. And I just would pop in every once in a while, and it felt very like, not even a lot of talking or lessons or confirming of different things. Like overall it was just like, okay, yeah, no, I just don't feel comfortable and I just want to be with someone who's gonna let me feel comfortable. And that worked for a while. And then suddenly right before my move, where I thought was like, I'm really gonna need him, like I'm really gonna need some like big, steady, like non-movable order type of energy in my life, I went to the door where I have the room where we apparently meet up. It's become a habit. And I go to just like walk through it, and it's just huge giant door, and it's just like boom, boom. Like I don't even have to like touch the door. I just hear this sound of like, you know, when you try to open a door and it doesn't move, like that type of deal. It was just like a giant echo, and it like, this is off limits to you now. Like we're done here. And I just felt myself flip. Like I was facing towards the door, suddenly I'm facing away from the door. And I suddenly felt like my image and my body had changed in a weird way. Like, I don't know why, but it was just very, I don't know, like a very strong sense of, I guess, badassery. Like, I can handle this. I got this. Even though in my head, I'm like, no, I don't. Don't got this at all. What wouldn't know? The whole reason I came here is because I don't feel like I got this. And then I felt this very, like, flowy energy. But it felt, I don't know, like not whimsical, like very powerful, like very like, boom boom boom. And like I know that energy feel. It's Selbek. I know that like it just kind of like comes in, like flows so smoothly like a crocodile does through water, but then you're just like, oh no, I feel the power behind this. It was weird because at first I felt very much like taking on my order-ish persona. It was like very 50s, very all glammed up, like I'm gonna have everything in its place and it's gonna be fine. And then after that it felt very different, like I was taking on a different type of I got this persona. Like it wasn't a 50s housewife type of deal. It wasn't a prim and proper. It was much more of a, I would consider it like a punky badass vibe. Like that's what I did. Really, fridge, every time I film. I'm sorry for the annoying noises. You're just gonna have to get through it because I don't think the fridge is ever gonna stop with the noises. So that huge bit of energy came and I was like, oh, okay, like my time with Hades is done. I didn't feel like it was done, but when has that man ever listened to me or asked for my input, period? And one of my other deities that I work with on a day-to-day basis, hopefully at times comes back. So back I'm like, okay, cool, what's up? And Mr. Crocodile's been kind of like swimming in the offshores for a while. It was very interesting. But before all of this, like months and months and months ago, I had this very weird interaction with my deities in my dreams, which happens, but normally it's like on a one-on-one basis, and this is the first time I've seen like all three of them together at once, and I thought it was very, very interesting and weird. And I think this all kind of connects in a sense now. But so one of the ways that I interact with a lot of my deities, my inner self, all that, inner astral, I have a little town I go to. It's fun to play in. I build it up. It got burned out at one point, it came back. There's a bunch of videos on that if you want to go through the Coffees and Cauldrons playlist. But I was back standing in my little town, kind of just exploring, checking things out, seeing if there's anything new that caught my interest that could maybe like pull me onto a fun journey. And I suddenly felt like everything was underwater, and it like suddenly shifted that way into my vision where like everything was just covered in a sheen of water, like the entire city had flooded, but everyone's still moving around like there's nothing wrong. And I could feel myself breathing easily, and it didn't really scare me too much because I used to transfer in and out of astral stuff, use water. It was such a big part of, yay, the fridge is done. It was such a big part of me being able to access the type of thing, was to dive into the astral through sensations of feeling wet, even though I was sitting plainly in my room and like wasn't. Like to get my mind to go to that place, I need to envision being surrounded by water, you know, almost like the choking, drowning feeling, and then like letting that go and then breathing easily, feeling the wet damp on my skin, and then I could like transfer in and out. So it felt very weird. It felt like I was like, oh, am I transitioning? Like what's going on? Like, am I going to a new plane? Like what is this? Very weird. And I suddenly had the urge to look up, and as I did, I saw this like you know, like when you look up and there's like the sun when you're underwater, and so you just see this like glowy thing, and so that's like how you know to go up. And so I started then swimming up and, you know, floating above this whole town and stuff that I did. And I didn't really think of anything until suddenly I just saw feet and hands and things, like everything was like reaching down. I felt grabbed by like multiple arms and claws and all these things, and I was just pulled up like up suddenly through the water above the surface of it. And I had Persephone and Loki and Sobek, all three of them standing there just looking down at me. And as I'm like above this water now and looking down at this town, and then I suddenly look back up and they're all three gone. It was just like all three of them just had to like pull me up through this, and that was it. And I was like, what the hell does all this mean? Like, y'all come, all three of you at once, which has never happened before, where all three of you were making a point, and now poof, gone. Not a word spoken, not a gesture, nothing, just up and then gone. Like, okay, interesting, what the hell does that mean? And this was months ago, so like I tried to figure it out, and it was just never gonna happen. After stepping outside of the door that I used to access Hades through and feeling the crocodile again, I was like, okay, interesting. And the immediate image that I had was like me like lounging very like, I don't know, I guess the only way to say it is very sovereign, very queen-like. Like I was like lounging like I knew my shit in this big pool of water, and I felt like Sobek underneath me, like very much like he was there, like helping to support me. And so I was like, oh, okay, well maybe that was it. Maybe I just need to kind of now relax and allow the last bits of stress to like fall off of me. My main deity's got me. He's like, I got you, like you're floating, but I got you, we're fine. Screw the lack of change, you need change, screw order, we need something now. So I was feeling into that, and everything kind of felt like it was going into place, and it felt like, okay, I'm building my home, things are happening, things are making sense, but I'm still not having that quote-unquote epiphany or aha moment, so to say. And I decided to take a class. I found a little metaphysical shop nearby where I live, and they were offering a tarot class, and this class was all about using the 4 queens in tarot as a way to like connect with them as archetypes, and then explore like how you were looking at your life, and like maybe what aspects of your life are you putting on the back burner that you shouldn't, etc., and so forth. And so in the class we did a little bit of a mini reading type of deal, and said like which of the 4 queens is kind of like leading you in life right now, which one is kind of like your passenger seat driver, like they're reading the map, but you know they're not actually driving the car. Which one have you thrown into the back of the trunk and is kicking and screaming, but you're like, nope, I'm ignoring you? And which one is like falling asleep in the back seat because you just really don't need him at the moment? And what I got for who I had thrown in the trunk was the Queen of Cups. And that was very, very interesting as I started to unpack that. We unpacked it as a class. And it was just kind of enlightening, because when I thought of like, why in the world would the Queen of Cups be thrown in my back trunk? Like, what does that mean? Especially when it's like water, emotions, all these things going on. And I've been thinking of like, well, there was that thing months ago with the water and me being pulled up with my deities, and there's like Sobek where I'm lounging in a pool of water and relaxing into it. Like, what is, like, the water seems to be again a thing, and like water's been a thing that I've been kind of trying to draw on for a while. And then I suddenly thought, well, emotion, connection, community, and like love. What is something that I wanted? And why is it that Sobek, of all of the people, is coming up with me at this in relation to this Queen of Cups energy I apparently have thrown in the back and I'm ignoring, even though she's screaming to get let out? And I realized it was a really deep connection, possibly. And specifically with my spirituality. I'm now in a new place, and that means whole new things, and yet suddenly I find myself still doing old habits that I don't want to be doing, and I have to really kind of check myself and be brave in that. And that is honoring this pentacle on my finger by not taking it off, because it never comes off. And yet to meet new people, I want to take it off. To go to new classes, to meet boys on dates, on my little profiles I've made to make new friends via like the Bumble BFF app, and like on things like Meetup, and then on OkCupid to like, you know, all the other dating apps, Tinder that I'm also on, trying to like meet people and like just see if I meet someone I really jive with. I have not outwardly explicitly said that I am pagan. Or I've considered like taking off stuff like this because, you know, something that's really personal to me and kind of private. And I don't know if I want to expose my spirituality so much in that sense by outwardly showing jewelry or by talking about it or even identifying myself as that. Yet that is extremely opposite to what I want out of my relationships, because I want deep spiritual connection. So we have to be able to talk about the spiritual stuff, which means I have to be able to tell people I'm a pagan, I'm a witch, this is some weird shit that I think about all the time, and I'm not certain about any of it, but I like to mull with it and play with it, and it's part of my daily rituals. And I read tarot about myself to figure out where I should be going better with life. Like, these are things that I do, so I can't keep them on the back burner. I can't hide them. I can't do that. And this class kind of opened my eyes up to that, going like, oh. And as I thought about that, and we did like a little like meditation journey too, which was really nice, about like what is, you know, trying to like visualize what is this archetype of this card, the Queen of Cups, trying to show me. And it was like a group meditation, kind of like so everyone could identify like what was the card that was identified for them. And it was very powerful in that realization of like, oh, I'm terrified of being made fun of for my spirituality. I am terrified of limiting my options or maybe missing out because someone thinks my spirituality is a non-negotiable. But it is a non-negotiable. And if they think it's a non-negotiable, that I'm too weird or too out there or too whatever, then they're not for me, and I will be unhappy if I continue to have that person in my life as a serious person that I would want to confide in, because they're going to be making fun of something I find integral and really important and personal. And so I can't maybe be as much in the broom closet with it if I want to have that deep spiritual connection with somebody, because for me to have that connection, they need to know where I'm coming from. And as I thought that, leaving the class and walking home, I felt Sobek suddenly pull out from underneath my arms where I was lounging all luxuriously. And he went somewhere in the dark depths of the astral, somewhere else, I don't freaking know. He was gone. I'm like, oh, was that it? Because in all my time in Arizona, I wasn't exactly extremely outward with my spirituality. There wasn't an announce it from the rooftops type of mentality. If anything, it was kept very close to me. Like, no, this is mine, and if it gets brought up, I will talk about it. But if it's not going to get brought up, that might be better. And instead, I kind of feel like I want to bring it up now. And there's certain people I've been speaking to and stuff where I'm like, oh, like I see other people declaring openly on like apps and in different groups and whatever that they are pagan. And I'm like, huh, like, I'm like, oh, you had the courage to do that, to identify yourself right out. That's kind of awesome. Why don't I have the courage to do that? Why don't I have the courage to state emphatically that this is what I am? Take it or leave it. Because that's what I want in life. I want to be able to relax into it and be like, yeah, this is who I am. This is what I love. This is what I do. Take it or leave it. So that's the current little lessons I am learning. A little bit of letting go of order. I have no idea if Hades will ever come back. He could have been a one-stop shop type of dude. All my three of my deities appearing at once, being like, hey, something to look into. I think that there might be something else going on with that still. Like, it still feels like I'm just scratched the surface with that like first lesson with Sobek. So I don't know, maybe each of them have a lesson to teach me within this thing. Who knows? Comment down below, how do you feel about odd messages that come up, and then you being honest and authentic with trying to make new connections, whether that through friendship, family, or romantic relationships, all of that down below. I make new videos every single week. A new podcast will be going live again every single Wednesday. I know they've definitely rolled a little bit since my move, but hopefully I'll have time to record them soon, and those will go back up every single Wednesday once again.